Hello, Matt Deckard here, and this video is a bit of a tale of ask and you shall receive. A few years ago, I put up a video talking about Brooklyn Dodgers caps and how it was virtually impossible to find somebody who could remake a classic Brooklyn Dodgers cap with the figure 8 style B. Just that basic, looks like an 8 embroidered onto the cap like they had back in the 30s and 40s. And when they did, like this one, they'd always do it with a blue button, or for some reason it would be just structured, which that came in the some of the 40s and 50s hats. They started making them a little more structured, then they turned into that trucker look. But what I've always wanted is that unstructured, soft crown. And if you ever watch 8 Men Out or any of those movies that actually showcase the 1920s and 30s, the early days of baseball, well, early 1900 days of baseball, the caps would just be soft crowned, just something they put on their heads, and they just have that just comfortable look about them. This one I'll get into later. But New Era, Ask and You Shall Receive, finally put out, this is their part of their Heritage series, a version that has that white button, the figure 8B, and it just looks, it's fantastic. When it's compared to, let's say, this is many people know this, Ebbets Field flannels. It's nearly identical. The material used on the New Era one, it's a wool and polyester blend. It gets wet, it'll shrink like this one will, but then it gets a bit of a cardboard feel to it. I'm not as keen on it. I do like the actual genuine all wool. When it comes to construction, the sweatbands are pretty much the identical in both styles. Of course, Ebbets Field has their satin underbill, and they have satin taping on the seams. I'm happy that New Era decided to go without the MLB logo on the back. It gives it just more of that vintage retro feel, like an original cap. But if I were to say, choose between the two, I still prefer the New Era one, for the simple fact that it's got the Dodgers logo on it from the 1940s. So outside of these two, New Era put out a whole collection. This is the St. Louis Cardinals. Just beautiful. I think the crown on these, they're very uniform, but they're just a little bit less pillboxed than the ones I've seen from Ebbets Field flannels. In fact, I would love it if Ebbets Field would get the rights to do the actual Brooklyn B embroidered and do a white button. They did the caps for the movie 42, but they decided to go with a cutout felt patch for the B, which I wasn't too keen on, and it's just not quite accurate to what they wore back in the day. They also did a New York Giants, which if this were the white crown version, it would be very much like Short Round's hat from Indiana Jones. You could actually cosplay with this thing. Actually, I think that one had a black button on it too. But just some beautiful hats that New Era is now producing. Only drawback outside of the material not being as, as nice as true all wool, I would say is they're made in China. I love the fact that Ebbets Field is still, it's made in USA. They do short runs. They always just come out looking like an old ball cap. The New Era ones, they have that same grace. I'll have to pick that out. 'Cause 47 hats messed up everybody when they decided to put their logo on the side, and then baseball itself decided, oh sure, you can put logos on the side of the caps, and it just, to me, it takes away when they put it on every single cap. This is a Red Sox New Era 1920 cap. And this, yes, they put these out 1 year with the leather sweatbands, and it has the classic New Era logo in it. It's nice. It's kind of 1920s. The big issue I have is that they decided to go with a bill that is, it's a short version of their standard bill they put on all their caps, which is a bit squared off in the front, whereas an actual 20s cap would have had a more of a moon shape. These edges wouldn't be as sharp; it would just be more curved in. By doing that, it's kind of a replica of Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth was the guy who started wearing those caps with it more squared off, and it caught on. And this just is a stubbier version of modern day Bill. I just wish they'd go with the old school Bill. But good job. It looks like a vintage ball cap. I'd go green under the bill here, but it's nice. The other one I wanted to show off, and I think this has a bit of a higher crown. It's a soft crown. This was put out for about a year ago for Jackie Robinson Day at Dodger Stadium. This one has the later 50s B. They did a great job. It's got the white button on there. It's got that soft crown. I love it. Also, white sweatband. Because modern day caps, they don't have a there's back in the day they'd have a leather sweatband, and that leather sweatband would have what's called a reed, which would go between the sweatband and the hat itself. And the reed on them would be this white tube with a piece of reed fiber in it, and it would kind of keep the shape of the hat. The reed was white, the leather was usually brown or sometimes gray, but you'd always see that white peeking under from the ball players. Little details, like just putting the white cotton sweatband in here, it gives it that air of being a vintage cap. They also did it without the MLB logo, which is fantastic. Let's see what that is. A little piece of red there. You can get that 1940s working man look as it breaks in. Yeah, just getting the details right. This one also, it's a replica in a way because it's got a bit of a cushion to push out the B. Nothing like the original. It's interesting, but I know I like it. It's also got a marking underneath the bill saying 42, which I also thought was a great nod to Jackie Robinson. And I guess one hat, I wish that they'd make more styles like this. This is another New Era heritage one. This is more of a Dodgers 1920s cap. I don't know why they did the white stitching on there, but it's more fashion, less heritage in this case. Some of the stitching started rotting after a while, and if you find original caps, you'll find what's blue has turned white at times just because of oxidation and age into the fibers. But I do love it. Again, this is a felt B that would have been embroidered, and for the era this is supposed to be, it would have been that classic figure 8. In fact, this would be a fantastic cap if they just do the figure 8B embroidered on it. What really makes this one marvelous to me is that the bill, the material that they used in the bill, unlike all the rest of their caps, it's a 3M type of cardboard, not quite plastic, but a fiber structure that breaks in and gets squishy, but it's still hard. You can't just pop it into your pocket. Whatever they put in the bill of this one, this hat is completely crushable. You could toss it in a bag, pops right back out, and gives you that look of the classic ball player from back in the day, or just the guy comes home, not wants to mow the lawn, do some work. But I just love the fact that it's a good quality retro ball cap that has some attributes that you wouldn't have had back in the day. It's pretty much indestructible unless you set it on fire. Anyway, my name's Matt Deckard. That's some details of the new era retro collection hats that I've fallen in love with. And take care.